Today we're going to fill out the residential homestead exemption because we know it's going to save us thousands in property taxes. And this is absolutely vital, especially if you live in the state of Texas, which has some of the highest property tax rates in the country. So today we're going to look at what a homestead exemption is, what the benefits are, and we're actually going to go through and fill out an application in real time. Now, if we're just meeting, my name is Jaime Resendiz. Welcome to the DFW Homeowner channel, where we cover real estate information that no one else is sharing with you. So let's begin by identifying what a homestead exemption is and list out a few benefits. A homestead exemption is an exemption that removes all or a portion of value from your resident's homestead. Now, in short, what this means for you as a homeowner is that you're going to be paying less in property taxes because every single year you're paying property taxes on the property that you own. And what you end up paying is very simple. It just takes the property tax rate that you currently have on your home versus the assessed value of your home. So as an example, if you have a property tax rate of 2% and the assessed value of your home is $500,000, then you owe $10,000 in property taxes per year. So now that we know that formula, let's go back to the definition. So what the homestead exemption does is that it reduces the assessed value of your property, which means that in this example of $500,000, it's no longer $500,000, it gets reduced thanks to your homestead exemption. And how much that amount gets reduced is going to vary by county and also the various exemptions that you have access to. But we'll talk about that shortly. What I really want to address right now is make clear the distinction between the assessed value and the market value of your home. The assessed value is what the county appraisal district is going to use to multiply your property tax rate against, which this amount is different than your market value. Your market value is what you could realistically sell your home out in the open market for. So what I'm trying to say here is that please do not go over to your county appraisal district website, look up your property and get that value and then try to sell your home for that price. Because more often than not, this assessed value by the CAD, the Central Appraisal District, is gonna be less than what you can sell your property for. And I'm taking a good portion of this video to really stress this point because I still get calls every single week from homeowners that are trying to sell their house at the value that they saw from the CAD. So please don't make that mistake because you're leaving thousands and thousands of dollars on the table. Now that's benefit number one of the homestead exemption. Benefit number two of the homestead exemption is that there's a cap on the assessed value rising every single year. In other words, a homestead exemption also limits the increase of your assessed value to 10% annually. This is commonly referred to as a homestead cap, meaning that if your home is assessed a value of $500,000 today, it cannot rise to $600,000 next year. The cap will be 10%. So if you live in a rapidly growing area that is appreciating rather quickly, this homestead exemption helps you out from a property tax perspective. Now, this is a great advantage to you. However, there is one caveat. This 10% homestead cap doesn't apply to additional improvements or extensive renovations that you may be doing on your property. So if you add an entire west wing to your property, don't expect this homestead cap to cover you. Now, the third benefit is one that hopefully you don't have to use, but it does exist, and that is certain liability protection. Once you apply this homestead to your primary residence, it is very challenging for creditors to take your homestead away from you. Now, hopefully you don't have a ton of creditors, and hopefully you don't have a bankruptcy to ever contend with, but if you did, there are certain protections that you receive for simply having that homestead on your home. Now, as an extreme example, I'll share the story of Ashley Williams Creamer.
North Texas real estate agent tonight is accused of stealing nearly $500,000 from her clients.
Who was a former property manager that was sued by a ton of landlords, along with many other creditors that ended up winning their judgments against her. And even though she had over $500,000 in judgments against her, there is nothing that could be done in bankruptcy court for her to sell the property, the brand new property that she had just bought. Why? Well, because she had a homestead exemption on that property. So even though it had been proved that she had not paid back all of these funds and had been sued by all of these creditors, there was nothing that could be done to get those creditors repaid. Now, hopefully you never bust an Ashley, so let's keep going. Because now we need to talk about the types of homestead exemptions that are available to you. because it's not just one. You have the General Residence Homestead Exemption, which is primarily the one that we're covering today, which is available to taxpayers who own and reside at a property as of January 1st of the year. Now, you also have the Person age 65 or older or Surviving Spouse Exemption, which is available to property owners the year that they become 65 years old. And by law, this exemption alone is $10,000 for school districts, which other taxing units may adopt this exemption and determine its amount, meaning it can change. You also have the Disabled Person or Surviving Spouse Exemption, which, similar to the exemption available for people over 65, an exemption for a person with disabilities provides for a tax ceiling for school taxes. And one that every single veteran needs to be aware about is a 100% disabled veteran or surviving spouse exemption, where the disabled veteran can receive an exemption from taxation of the total, here again, total appraised value of the veteran's qualifying residence homestead. You also have the donated residence of partially disabled veteran or surviving spouse. This provides partial exemptions for property owned by veterans who are disabled and who own and occupy homes that have been donated by a charitable organization. The next one's a very sad one to report on, but absolutely necessary, and that's the surviving spouse of an armed services member killed in line of duty exemption. With this exemption, you're allowed a 100% property tax exemption on your residence homestead. And another exemption available is the surviving spouse of a first responder killed while on duty exemption, where here again, you're eligible for a 100% property tax exemption on a residence homestead. Now, as you can see, there's multiple scenarios and multiple types of homestead exemptions available, but the one we're going to focus on is the General Residence Homestead Exemption, which is going to apply to the most amount of people watching this video right now. Now, by their definition, a residence homestead is a structure including a mobile home and land up to 20 acres. So yes, this does include mobile homes and also includes a generous portion of the land. And it must be owned by one or more individuals or qualifying trusts. It cannot be LLCs, aka corporations. And not only does this property need to be used as a residence, it also needs to be occupied by the owner as their primary residence. So this is where I get a lot of questions. No, this can't be used on your investment property. And you can only have one of these. This doesn't even count on your second home. So whatever home you use as your primary residence, that's the one you apply it on. Which, speaking of applications, now let's talk about how to apply before we actually go through and apply ourselves. You must submit an application in order to apply for that homestead exemption. Now note that this application is a one-time thing, so you don't have to keep doing it every single year. And also, this application is absolutely free for you to do. So if you just bought your home, get ready, because you're gonna get a billion pieces of mail saying, hey, give me $300, $500, $1,000 to file your homestead exemption for you. So anytime you get those mailers, please throw them away because you don't need them. I'm gonna show you exactly how to do it right now at no cost to you. It's super simple. Now, this application can be done online or it can be done on paper, where you fill out the application in paper form and mail it in. And to get to your application, all you have to know is what county your home happens to be in. As an example, I just bought this home in Mansfield, which happens to be in Tarrant County. So I have to fill out this homestead exemption to remove my homestead exemption from where I used to live over in Crowley. And the only thing I needed to do to prep for this very moment was to update my driver's license with my current address. So as soon as you buy your house, get your driver's license updated. Now that we understand the homestead exemption a little bit better, what the benefits are, let's actually go through and fill out the application. Now I'm gonna assume that you probably don't have the physical form. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the County Appraisal District and get the application from there. So we're gonna go to the Tarrant Appraisal District and look for the homestead exemption. Now I see it right at the top right there. However, we're gonna go up here to look for it, just so when this little banner goes away, we won't get lost. We're gonna go to forms. We're gonna go to homestead exemption, and there's gonna be an explanation of what the homestead exemption is, what the requirements are, the types of homestead exemption, and all that fun stuff. And what we're gonna go and do is we're going to actually apply. So we're gonna click the form online and we're gonna start filling out the information. All right, so first question, appraisal district account number, if known. Now, personally, I know what that account number is because I'm staring at the application. However, if you don't, all you have to do is go back here, go to the county appraisal district and search for your property. So type in your property address right there, and you're gonna see the account number once your property pops up. So let's go back. Are you filing a late application? We're gonna go with no. Select the first year you believe you qualify for the exemption. Now here's an important note. The year that you're going to apply for is the year that you first lived on that property on January 1st. So as an example, this is 2025. So we're going to go with this year because we lived in this property in 2025, January 1st. So that is the requirement. So whatever January 1st of the year that you ended up living in, that's the one that you're going to apply for. And for our purposes today, we're going to only go with general residence homestead exemption because I myself do not qualify for any of the other exemptions. Do you live in the property for which you are seeking this homestead exemption? Yes. Cooperative housing. Do you have an exclusive right to occupy this property because you own a stock in a cooperative housing corporation? No. Were you receiving a homestead exemption on your previous residence? Yes. What was the address of your previous residence? Now here again, if you're a previous homeowner that had your homestead exemption on that other property, they are going to be lifting it off of that one if they haven't already and are going to apply it to this one. We're gonna go with single adult. Now I'm gonna take a image of my driver's license. Now when it comes to the address, we're gonna match it. 100% ownership interest. Now, if you happen to have, let's just say a spouse, you're gonna put 50-50. And then if you happen to have other ownership rights on it, then you're gonna put the percentage of ownership that you have. Now, it's gonna be very rare that you're accepting mail in a different location. So just be very mindful of this when you're filling it out. All right, so you're gonna put the date that you acquired the property. Now, here's the very important part. You're looking to live in the property before the date of January 1st, only if it's true, of course. We're not looking to lie here. You can confirm that the rest of the information is correct. Is the applicant identified on deed or other restricted instrument? Yes. Is the property for which this application is submitted an heir property? No. Is this a manufactured home? So this goes back to the mobile home example. If you have a mobile home, this is where you would be putting yes. Is any portion of the property for which you are claiming a residence homestead exemption income producing? No. Number of acres or fraction of an acre not to exceed 20 acres you own and occupy as your primary residence. So we're gonna put, we're on 1/4 of an acre. Now, if you have some additional if you were applying for additional exemptions that you needed to submit additional documents substantiating the information, then this is where you'd be asked to put it. And all that's left is to sign and send and submit. It really is that simple. Now, it is going to vary slightly depending on the county that you happen to live in. But for the most part, the questions are going to be the same. And now you fully know how to submit your homestead exemption. Now, to verify that the homestead exemption went through, especially if you're mailing it in, you're going to want to check on their website once again. Go and find your property online, just like I showed you earlier, and see if the homestead exemption shows right at the bottom. Or for whatever reason, your county doesn't display that, go ahead and call the Central Appraisal District and ask them if the homestead exemption was applied. Now, if you found value in this video, go ahead and check out this other one that you might like as well.